I saw Lin-Manuel Miranda made an appearance on SNL last night.
Oh, really?
And that reminded me of how I just read recently that he asked John M. Chu, who directed Wicked, if he could. He was like, "I want to be in Wicked. I want to have a cameo in Wicked."
Gosh.
And John was like, "No, you're too distracting." And I was like thinking about how I also read that, like, there's a nail scene in Wicked when they go to Oz.
Yes.
There's like a scene with like a close up of nails and like a little bit of choreography with some nails. You're not going to remember that,
okay.
but apparently, if you go back and watch In the Heights, it looks a lot like that scene.
Oh,
and
okay.
Lin-Manuel was like, "Excuse me, that nail scene looks a lot like the one in the Heights." And John M. Chu was like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. Nobody saw that." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
For the record, I loved In the Heights.
Yeah, we love In the Heights.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that, welcome to FaveFilm Weekly, episode of FaveFilm Podcast, where we look at the week in movies and TV and what we've been watching and the news and all that good stuff.
And we have a lot to catch up on because, unfortunately, we've been away for a little while. So regular listeners to the podcast and anybody who may have seen my live streams may see that there is a regular character that appears in the episodes, and her name is a little cat named Leia. Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, she got taken sick right before Christmas. She's fine. She's back home now, but we've been having to deal with that, and we've had other things as well, like I was sick. And,
our own illnesses.
So we've had a lot of stuff going on. So we apologize that we haven't recorded in a while, but we're back now. But we have a lot to cover.
Oh yeah.
So just a little thing up front: the only movie that we're really going to talk about in depth in this episode is Nosferatu, because as anybody who's listening knows that's one that we were very excited about, and we only got to the movies twice over the winter break.
So sad.
But luckily, Nosferatu was one of those movies. So we are going to talk a little bit in depth about that. All of the other movies that we've seen, we're just going to do a quick, let you know what we thought of it and
whether we'd recommend it or not, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. We did end up watching a lot of movies kind of home viewing, digitally and stuff like that. So we're not, we do have some takes and things like that. But yeah, it was tough to get to the movies when there was so much going on. And the holidays, it's tough with all the rush of everything.
Of course.
But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. So first off, let's go ahead and get into the news. All right.
Sorry, I got my buttons mixed up there. That was a little bit of a delay.
No worries. So the Oscar nominations were released this week.
Yeah, so I haven't even looked at them. So
yeah, this is all new to you. We kind of have a funny relationship with the Oscars. We used to be huge Oscar watchers and really, I was always enthralled by the nominees and trying to predict who was going to win. And,
well, when I lived in the UK, we used to make an event of it every year. We used to stay up overnight and watch them live. And
y'all were up late, right?
Yeah. Well, we used to be used to start at
6:30, 7. Yeah, so you'd be midnight, 1 p.m., 1 a.m.
4 or 5 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But
we used to have Oscar parties and everything, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? In recent years, we've kind of, award shows are kind of silly anyway. You realize this kind of growing up, and you realize as the industry changes and things like that.
It's become a little bit too political.
Yeah, well, it's that, but also I read somewhere with the advent of social media, people tend to spill a bit more tea about things, and then you learn kind of, that most voters don't watch all the movies that they're supposed to watch.
Really?
And they end up voting for who they're friends with,
man.
So it's not really. Award shows are not the best indicator of what truly is the best in film.
I didn't even know that. I thought that they got the screeners and and then I would think that if you won an Academy Award and you were in the Academy, I would take that pretty seriously.
Oh, much too busy, darling. Much too busy. I'm making a film. Much too busy.
Oh my God.
But the thing is,
much too busy to watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially one that your friend's in.
Well, and Entertainment Weekly does, they typically do an article every year where they do like a kind of blind item thing, where they get like what they call a producer, a director, an actor. They don't name who's actually giving them the feedback, but they have them kind of say who they voted for and why.
Oh, okay.
And often it's very superficial reasons. Somebody, a couple of years ago, I read like the quote actor in the, everybody was trying to guess who it was. It was funny, but the actor said, "Oh, I'm not voting for Viola Davis because I didn't like when she was in Fences and she got all snotty when she cried." I'm like, that's ridiculous.
That was the reason?
Some of the reasons for voting for someone and not are very superficial. And so that's why sometimes you get, sometimes these choices where it's like, really, them?
Well, the way I think, I mean, I can't overstate how much I used to be into the Oscars. We used to do a poll and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to do, predictions and things like that. And, I've even gone into work the next morning after staying up all night watching the Oscars. And that's how much I loved it and that's how important it was to me. But I think it went a little bit, it started to go off the rails when they bypassed Russell Crowe for The Insider.
That's when it turned for you.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, there is no way that was not the best performance of the year. 100%.
Yeah, and they did a make good with Gladiator.
Yeah, and they gave it to him for Gladiator, which I didn't care for Gladiator. But I was like, how can that be the case? And it's again, I think it was all political. It was because of the subject matter was tobacco and all that kind of stuff. But that's when it started to kind of go, I mean, you can't agree with everything that the Academy gives the awards to, but anyway, so...
Well,
but hearing what you just said about Entertainment Weekly, and I mean about the Academy not watching all the movies, how can you possibly have a fair award ceremony?
It's weird because I think that what they do with the films is that they do it based on rankings. So it's very possible that something that could have been most everybody's number two could sneak up to win Best Picture because of how high it ranked on their list in general, and when they do all the tests, it's weird.
And it's also 10 movies now.
Yeah, I think, let me see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, 10 this year. It varies between like 8 and 10.
It used to be 5.
It used to be 5, but honestly, I mean, I'm glad they extended it because 5 movies, it kind of...
Well, and also the fact that they just completely bypass certain genres too.
Not this year. Yeah. Interestingly enough. So let's talk about the Best Picture nominees. Okay, now,
so I must say I probably haven't seen all of these.
We haven't seen a lot of these. So we have seen some of them. Yeah. We can comment on some of them. But okay, so we've got Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Emilia Perez. I'm Still Here, which is a Brazilian film.
Yeah.
Nickel Boys, which is a small independent film about 2 boys sent to reform school in the 60s. The Substance. That's the big kind of nominee because horror movies don't tend to get nominated.
Yeah.
And to call Substance as a horror movie, I mean, yes.
The last, it
is horrific.
The last third of it, I would say.
But it's also a really good satire, so it's a little bit, it's a smart horror movie. And Wicked, of course. So we have seen Wicked, we have seen The Substance, I've seen Dune Part 2 because you were like, I'm not watching this.
I started to watch it.
Yeah, you started to watch it and then you're like, I can't follow this.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me.
As a book reader, I was interested and I actually quite liked it. I liked it better than the first one actually, and I thought that they did some interesting things with it. They steered away from the book a little bit, but also kept most of the story intact.
So how are we nominating movies these days? Are we looking at, because I mean, spoilers for what I thought about Nosferatu. In my opinion, it should have been it should have been in the list of Best Picture nominations.
Agreed.
Because it's, because are we looking at movies in terms of direction, cinematography, score? I mean, I know we have all these different categories, right? But shouldn't Best Picture be a combination of all those categories?
So there seem to be a lot of themes that go through movies that are tailor-made for Best Pictures. Biopics are always good. That's why you see A Complete Unknown. Conclave, to me, is kind of it's almost like a play in a way.
Yeah.
The Oscars love these, like, contained play movies.
Yeah.
Dune Part 2, I feel like, is kind of the, action sci-fi scope. It's what now makes it into 10 nominees versus 5. You would never see Dune Part 2
True.
if it was 5 nominees.
True.
The Brutalist.
Yeah.
Holocaust theme. I'm just going to say it. Holocaust movies tend to... It's not wholly Holocaust theme, I should say. There is a Holocaust element to it.
Was Zone of Interest nominated last year?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And Zone of Interest, rightfully so, was a brilliant movie. And should have been nominated. Amelia Perez is a weird outlier here.
Yeah, right.
From what I hear. We haven't watched it yet. We're renting it on digital to watch, but I hear it's... I hear it's troublesome.
Maybe we should watch it today.
So it is a musical.
We can talk about it next week.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what to make of that. It's a unique one. I'm still here. I'm afraid I don't know much about.
Right. So I mean, but why is it that so The Substance, it was a great movie. It was one of my favorite movies of last year. And we already talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite movies of last year, but not because it was gory and because it was... I mean, I would really struggle to even call it a horror film. I would say it was more of a drama horror, right?
Yeah.
But it was great. But why... I never understood why the Academy and the nominations always overlook these kinds of movies.
You're talking about Nosferatu.
I'm talking about Nosferatu because, as we'll talk about later on, it was brilliant. It was absolutely incredible.
So I think that one of the things Nosferatu had going against it was how late it was released at the end of the year. I think that most people hadn't seen it.
Well, Eggars wanted to put it out as a Christmas treat.
Well, he did too. It was.
It was a treat.
It was a treat, but I wouldn't say it's wholly. Wholly.
Right.
Festive.
But I mean, look. Here's the thing. You're never going to agree with the Academy. You're never going to agree with all the nominations. There's always going to be movies that you feel should be on the list. But there are some worthy movies on there. I feel.
Yeah.
I
Wicked's on there. I mean, Wicked is the big musical.
Yeah.
Sweeping epic, and
that's what we're going to talk about. Did we already talked about it, right?
We have not talked about Wicked.
We haven't?
No,
okay.
Because we saw it shortly before all the kind of illness and cat stuff and holiday madness happened.
Okay. I guess we can talk about it now.
We loved it.
Yeah,
I loved
it. Would I put it in the category of Best Picture? I don't think so.
You really don't think so? I think so.
No,
I
thought it was fine. I really enjoyed it. It was... it was well performed and the musical numbers, But as I say, I wouldn't put it in... When I think about musicals that deserve to be put in, La La Land was Oscar worthy in my mind.
I think Wicked's Oscar worthy. That's my opinion. Okay. I think that, there are certain movies that end up in the Best Pictures that are kind of what I call the heavy lifting. Where there's a lot going on and, a lot, you're taking this beloved stage show and putting it screen, and that's not an easy feat.
See, I don't know the stage show. That might be one thing that was going against me. But I will say when we went in to see Wicked, I mean, I was looking forward to it. It exceeded my expectations.
Absolutely.
I wasn't super stoked to go see it, but as I say, it exceeded my expectations and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande Butera, as she's named in the credits, did a great job.
Yeah.
I was really surprised about Ariana. She's not an actor by trade.
Right.
Cynthia is.
Right.
But she did a great job. She really embodied that character, and I can't really fault it. It was an enjoyable experience. Made me cry at the end and all that good stuff. So exactly what it was set out to do. So I did want to talk about the fact that the performances in the film The Apprentice were nominated. So Sebastian Stan was nominated for Best Actor for playing Donald Trump. And Jeremy Strong was nominated for playing Roy Khan.
I haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. It's kind of like it's a low priority for us. But it is interesting that those performances were nominated when the film was kind of... it was well reviewed. They do say, the reviews say that these performances were really great. But it's kind of it's a divisive film, to say the least. Not sure people wanted to go there with the last election, but it is really funny that the Roy brothers of Succession are both nominated for supporting actor. Jeremy Strong versus Kieran Culkin. So that's a fun little matchup. Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. He's nominated.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I do want to see that.
Yeah, I want to see that. Yeah, we should.
So yeah, that's the Oscar nominations in general. Best Director, Coralie Forget. Yay! Okay. She got nominated for The Substance. So that's good.
Thinking about, is there one from last year that you would have liked to have seen in there, apart from Nosferatu?
Gosh.
Because I'm going to put a shout out for Heretic.
Yeah,
I loved Heretic. I think it was, and we've talked about Heretic on the podcast before, but I think it was expertly done. I think the fact that the first half of the movie is just dialogue was just incredible. It had this air of. It was compelling, and it was also terrifying at the same time, and they were just talking,
Yeah,
in it.
It was very tense.
And then the second half, it kept you guessing. There was one, I'm not going to spoil it, but there was one shot in particular, which not only was one of the best shots I've seen in a movie last year, probably one of the best shots I've seen in a movie ever, and I think it deserves. I think it deserved consideration as well. There's also another movie which we're going to talk about later, which I also believe deserves consideration. But so if there was one from last year that you would put in there, what would you put?
All of Us Strangers.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it. Absolutely beautiful. I feel like that was that 2024? I just want to double check because I think... Okay, it was 2023. So technically it was released at the end of last year, so never mind. Okay. But gosh, that was a beautiful movie.
Okay.
Yeah, stunning.
All right, well, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I don't think in the the realm of streaming and stuff like that, I don't think that the Oscar has as much gravitas as it did back then. When a movie received Best Picture, it would find it would have a spike, it would get re-released and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't think it has as much gravitas now, but we'll see.
Well, a lot of the movies like Anora and The Substance, they're coming back to
they're
the
in
theaters so that people can see them.
It depends on the theater though. If you have lucky to have a 30 screen, like we have, then you find these smaller movies coming back.
Otherwise, you're going to get that. Yeah. What is that awful? You're going to get the Mark Wahlberg movie. You're going to get you're going to get that one. Den of Thieves 2.
Wow.
Yeah, all your screens are going to be taken up by that. But if you're lucky enough to have a larger theater with multiple screens, then you might get to see The Substance.
So what else have we got in the news?
Oh God. So speaking of Robert Eggars, you may not know this.
I think I do, but go ahead.
Rumored to write and direct a sequel to Labyrinth. What the heck?
Yeah.
If anybody's going to do Labyrinth, let it be Robert Eggars because it's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's okay. So there's wild, and then there's out there,
But
right?
it's still a kids movie, so I'm a little bit like, I don't
Well,
know.
yeah. I mean, look, in on the podcast. I mean, we didn't do an episode on Labyrinth, did we? We need
Yeah,
to.
we did.
Oh, we did.
Oh yeah, we
Okay.
did, because I had never seen it.
Oh, that's
so if you
right,
go back
that's
in our
right, that's
archives
right.
and you want to look for the She's Never Seen It Labyrinth episode.
Yeah, we did a whole
yeah.
episode on it because it's one of my favorite films. Now, okay, so there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, I don't know how they're going to do it, and I'll be interested to see what the story is, right? But I think if anybody, it's going to be in good hands. Let's just say. Here's the thing about it is, I think that they've got to keep that sparkle about it, because there are parts of Labyrinth that are quite dark, but then there are parts that just shine.
They're
right?
whimsical and fun.
Exactly. So it's got to keep that. So I think that before they even start on it, they're going to need to find out what their audience is going to be.
Yeah. And how are they going to,
They got to
account for the absence of David Bowie?
Right. They've got to decide who their target audience is, and then they have to cater to that.
My guess is their target audience is going to be people like us, people in the older.
Well, then it's not going to be as successful, because you have to cater to. It depends. It also depends on the studio. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you look at something like Wicked, Wicked could have just catered to theater fans, and a lot of theater fans were excited. A lot of theater fans have turned out in multiple viewings of this to make it the success that it is.
Yeah.
But it needed to appeal to kids. It needed to appeal to people who've never seen the musical, like yourself.
Yeah.
And people who know some of the songs, like me, and then diehard fans. So, yeah, if you're limiting yourself to people who are like our age, who saw the original and loved it, then yes, you're missing out on a huge part of your audience.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I think that
because even though it might be a passion project, it's still got to make money.
Yeah, it's got to make money, and it's got to be something that parents who are our age will want to take their kids to see and know that their kids will enjoy it.
Right.
So,
also, they have to decide: are they going to do Muppets again, or are they going to do? Are they going to try and do CG?
Are they going to do a combination of both?
Who is the antagonist going to be? Who is the protagonist going to be?
Are they going to get Jennifer Connelly back? Are they going to get Ludo back?
Does anybody want to see a 50-year-old Jennifer Connelly running through the labyrinth?
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe she's a mom.
Maybe she comes across, 80-odd-year-old Indiana Jones while she's in there.
Oh my goodness. and Maverick from Top Gun and all these. Yeah.
Exactly.
And Helen Hunt from Twisters. Who knows?
I'm not sure. I'm going to reserve my judgment until we see the development. But until then, I'll be cautiously optimistic. Let's say that.
Yeah, about how I felt when, Denis Villeneuve was taking over Dune. I was like, okay, if anybody can present a cool vision of this, it's him. And
I mean, look, can it work sometimes? Sure. Top Gun Maverick, awesome. Indiana Jones and the whatever it was called, the circle.
Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny. I was going to say the Circle of
Life.
Well, I'm playing the game at the moment. That's what it's called, and it's called the Circle of something. I can't remember, but the Dial of Destiny, loved it. Really, really good. So it can happen. Is it going to capture the lightning in a battle that was Labyrinth? I don't think so, but we'll see.
I don't know. We will see indeed. All right, so now let's tuck into some of the movies we've seen lately.
So I think what we're going to need to do with this is just do capsule reviews because there's so many.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did talk about Nosferatu a little bit in depth, but...
So, do you want to spoil the shit out of that first?
I don't want to spoil the shit out of it, but
okay.
I
we
mean,
won't. We won't.
We're not going to spoil it for people because I think people should really see it.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say if you're going to go see it, try and see it on the biggest screen you can. It's an incredible movie experience. We were lucky enough to see it in IMAX. And I will say I was very excited for this movie. Anybody who's listened to the podcast before knows that probably my favorite movie of all time is Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola one. So Nosferatu is not a faithful retelling of Bram Stoker's Dracula. You can look up
it's inspired by Dracula.
Inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula. So you can look up the history of Nosferatu and all of the trouble it got into
the
for
original
copyright
film.
and things like that. Yeah, the original film. So so this is made by Robert Eggars, who did The Northman, The Lighthouse, The Witch. Okay. Loved The Witch, have not seen The Northman, did not like The Lighthouse. So I was...
The Lighthouse had merit, but it was a little too weird for us.
Yeah, it was a little out there.
Yeah.
Now, going into this, I was very excited. It was December 26th. We went late in the evening. It was a full house.
IMAX.
And it did not disappoint. So first of all, let me say that this is, by all intents and purposes, this is definitely is a horror film, but it is a beautiful horror film. It's very unsettling, but it is shot so beautifully. There are some parts in it that are just were so strikingly beautiful that my mouth fell open while I was in the movie theater. And the score is fantastic. The performances are fantastic. Count Orlok is not what you would expect.
Bill Skarsgård
was great. Now,
just...
He really played his part leading up to this movie, making capsule quotes in headlines like, "I never want to play anything this evil again," and things like that. So
and he played Pennywise.
Yeah.
It's whoa.
So my expectations were super high, and he did not disappoint. His character is so unnerving.
He purrs. Like his voice, and apparently Bill Skarsgård practiced, dropped an octave, kind of really developed that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he really put himself into the role. Now, there is a part where, when Nicholas Hoult first gets to Count Orlok's castle, that scene, it's been interpreted so many times over the years, but this was so clever, and the way that they did it, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was just really clever and really imaginative the way it was done. Kind of like the first time you saw Coppola's version, and the shadow play was just mind-blowing. This does it again, and it doesn't disappoint.
Yeah.
The lighting in this movie is just second to none.
There's a lot of muted, dark, kind of grayish tone, and it's reflective of the time. It's reflective of the place. I mean,
you're
in Europe, and it's muddy and cloudy, and
the color tone shifts during the movie as well, depending on what's happening, which again was really clever. I also really like the fact that they tied in Count Orlok's arrival with the plague.
Yes.
And the use of rats was just brilliant. Oh, it was so good.
So many rats.
It was so good. But I mean, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Lily Rose Depp. Was just
who did
incredible.
Great. And kind of, Anya Taylor-Joy was originally tapped to do that role, and I have no doubt she would have been amazing. She's amazing in most of what she does, but I think that there was a scheduling conflict, but I think that Lily Rose kind of really came in and really did some good emoting.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, she captured that kind of madness, but in the obsession, and
Yeah, she kind of embodied that internalizing that she had, while everybody else around her couldn't see what she was going through. I just thought it was brilliant. One of the best films of last year for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely go see it.
Yeah, it is. We should say it is nominated for a lot of technical Oscars,
As it should be, yeah.
Cinematography and art design and things like that. So, which we kind of predicted. I was like, it may not get nominated for Best Picture, but it'll definitely get some technical awards. And it did. And it's
Loved
incredible. And
can't wait. And it's out. It's actually out to rent or buy digitally now, and then it's out on physical media next month.
And we should say that it's been a success. It's grossed about $190 million worldwide on a $50 million budget.
Oh wow!
So there you go. So yeah, Robert Eggers, probably his most successful, financially successful film, and one of his most approachable, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It was, as I say, I haven't seen The Northman, but this was definitely more of a conventional kind of movie. So, congratulations to everybody involved. It was fantastic.
It was an achievement.
I loved it. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll kind of breeze through some of these other ones that we've seen. So another Best Picture nominee we've seen is Anora. So I think Mikey Madison's performance in that movie is what makes it a talking point.
Yeah,
and
I
why
agree.
it is nominated, because she's amazing.
I
She's
agree.
really
She's
good.
good in it, yeah.
She's really great. But the movie as a whole, if you haven't seen any of Sean Baker's previous films like Tangerine and The Florida Project, you may not, this may not be a, you may go, what is this?
I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, you hadn't seen those movies. I have, but his movies tend to be a bit chaotic, real-time kind of craziness, There was a lot of shouting in this movie.
Yeah.
It felt like Uncut Gems when you saw it the first time. It's just like your anxiety level is just up because it's
And
like,
that's
oh my God,
maybe-
these people.
Yeah, and that's maybe, what the intention was. So the movie's about, Mikey Madison plays a sex worker who ends up with this
Like, son of an oligarch.
Son of an oligarch. And then it's about the family not approving.
They marry in a hurry.
Yeah, they marry
on
in
a
a
whim.
hurry and all this kind of stuff. The problem for me with the movie was there were no stakes. And I didn't really care about any of the other characters apart from Anora, which again was probably the intention, but the movie just didn't click with me. I didn't, and I didn't like the tension parts of it. It was like Uncut Gems. It was like that scene in Boogie Nights with the firecrackers.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It just didn't click with me. I mean, it was just fine.
I think that what kind of was hit and miss for me was a lot of people when they talk about this movie, they talk about like the bumbling cronies of the oligarch who were sent to kind of, break up this marriage and all this stuff. They, a lot of people say, oh, they're so funny. They're so hapless. A lot of it wasn't funny to me. It was very hit or miss.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. And there's another part, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's another part towards the end that I just really didn't get. But anyway, I mean, it was just fine.
It was okay. Yeah. But again, Mikey Madison, great, and I can see why it's a buzzy kind of nominee. Some people might enjoy it more than us, but next, a smaller movie that we discovered on Prime Video called My Old Ass.
Okay, and so this is the movie that for me that should have had Oscar contention.
Yeah, and
it absolutely blew me away.
It was probably too small of a story to kind of stand out. It didn't have like the prestige of something like The Holdovers. That's, to me, it's kind of it feels like a little cousin to The Holdovers a little bit. It's that kind of small family dynamic drama, people-based thing.
So it's a coming of age movie. It's about this young girl called Elliot who
she lives in Canada.
She lives in Canada. She goes with her friends one night, and they take some magic mushrooms, and she ends up seeing herself in 20 years' time.
Yeah, like an older version of herself from the future.
Right, and it ends up getting her phone number and getting life tips from what she calls my old ass. On paper, it sounds weird, but trust me, in the movie, it really works.
Yeah, you do have to suspend disbelief, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think our future selves are coming to warn us about what our actions are, but...
Right. But this movie, it was delightful, it was funny, it was sad, it was poignant. I absolutely loved it. It's one of the best movies I've seen of recent over the last year, for sure.
Yeah, and Aubrey
it surprised
Plaza.
me. I knew nothing about it. Aubrey Plaza was excellent. And the girl who played Elliot, I'm sorry, I don't have her name in front of me, but
kind of an up-and-coming actress.
She was fantastic too.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I would liken it to, I'm not a huge fan of Jennifer Lawrence, but she was great in Winter's Bone, right? Her first role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of liken it to that. It was kind of,
it's not the same movie as Winter's Bone.
No,
but...
of course not. But I'm just saying, kind of like a first movie for this actress. She's definitely got a bright future ahead of her. But it was I loved it.
Yeah. So we also saw Gladiator 2. So we talked about at the top how we weren't big fans of the original Gladiator. We know some people love it. We know, why this sequel was made. It's one of those many years later. It's like this Beetlejuice kind of Top Gun Maverick kind of let's bring back this hot property.
Right.
So I think we enjoyed it more than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was a little overlong.
Yeah.
But it was fine. There were some good sequences in it. One thing I would say is that it's worth watching just for Denzel Washington.
He's fantastic.
He's so good in it.
He's fun.
He chews the scenery, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Right?
He's really entertaining.
Yes.
Are you entertained?
Yeah.
Paul Mescal is taking on the Russell Crowe role. He's not the same guy, but he's the son of Maximus.
And that's not spoiling anything. That's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer, yeah.
So, but yeah,
he's good.
It's fine.
He looks great.
It's fine. It is available to stream now on Paramount Plus if anybody's got it in the US.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on other outlets.
Yeah, you can rent it digitally and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was middling.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good popcorn movie,
Yeah.
It's good sequences, good cinematography,
yeah, there
good
was.
shots.
I mean, the fight sequences are great.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen more animals.
Yeah.
In the fight. Again, this isn't going to spoil anything because it's all in the trailer, but what did we have? We had rhinos and sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen...
I like the sharks.
This is the one bugbear that I had about it was the fact that there was one shot where it was going in towards the Colosseum and they just breezed past the tiger. Right, and I'm like, oh man, I would have loved to have seen...
But they were like, we've already done that.
We've already done a tiger in the first one.
We want to do rhinos this time.
And also, why didn't the sharks have laser beams on their head?
Well...
That would have been great, wouldn't it?
Well, the monkeys at the start, they kind of mutant.
Oh yeah, there were mutant monkeys too.
Yeah, woo! It was wild.
But yeah, it was fine.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
It was fine. And it was, and it was probably made a little bit better because of the movie we saw right before it.
Which was Wolfman.
Oh my gosh. Absolute. Yeah. So Wolfman, for anybody who doesn't know, is written and directed by Lee Whannell, who did The Invisible Man, which I really, really enjoyed.
And he did the original Saw movie.
Yeah.
Which we also enjoyed, but...
But I think The Invisible Man surprised me.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, and it was great.
So tense.
So I had some... I mean, obviously, when the reviews start to come out, you think, oh, my goodness. But I was kind of hopeful it was good. Oh, my gosh, what an absolute steaming pile of garbage. So,
it was a snooze fest.
Oh, God, wow. So here's the many problems that I had with it was... The guy who played the father, again... Christopher Abbott, he's not a good actor. He was not good.
I feel like people have said he's good in other things, but For this role, he was not right.
Right,
he just didn't have a commanding screen presence.
And Julia Garner, who I have seen, I mean, we love the show Ozark. She's incredible in Ozark.
She's great in a movie called The Assistant.
Right.
She was great as, oh God, why do you look so poor? Oh my God. Oh, Anna Delvey.
But here's the thing. She was just miscast in this. She was miscast. Also, I think she needs to change her hair. Because every time I look at her, I see Ruth Langmore from Ozark.
The little,
and that's a change.
Blonde curls.
But here's the thing, and again, this is not spoiling anything, but so this family, they, her and her husband and their daughter, who's called Ginger, which was quite off-putting. I was like, they kept calling Ginger. I thought it was kind of weird. But anyway, sorry to anybody named Ginger out there. They go up to this cabin because his father has been declared dead, and they go up to this cabin and they end up having an accident and he gets scratched by something, and then he ends up eventually turning into a wolf man, right? So here's the thing. She does not show hardly any emotion. She's just kind of like, okay, so
this is happening.
He's got talons now. Okay, not talons. He's got claws now. Okay. Oh, his face is changing. Oh, this is happening. This is happening. She's so matter of fact about it. She's just completely miscast in this role.
Well, there's also a wolf man on the outside that's keeping them trapped. So, they can't get to a hospital or anything. Right. They got no phone signal. Where in the world doesn't have phone signal anymore? I guess these areas still don't, but God.
I don't know. I didn't have phone signal in the grocery store yesterday.
Well, there you go.
But anyway, so this movie just completely it clocks in, I think, at a whopping 89 minutes as well. It's man,
felt longer.
It really should not have been made. It's terrible. Do not see it.
Welcome to January. It's one of those January movies.
Right.
A better movie, Juror Number 2.
Oh yeah, I really again
pretty good. Yeah. Nicholas Hoult is having a year. Mm-hmm. So Clint Eastwood directed. Mm-hmm. Small, it's a bit 12 Angry Men, but also there's some twisty element to it that's kind of interesting, and like how's somebody going to get out of this and things like that.
Now,
good performances.
Yeah, we won't spoil this because the story really does have some good plot twists in it and things like that. It's an interweaving story set around a murder trial, and it's really good. For me, so Clint Eastwood movies can be a little bit hit and miss, but this is one of the hits for sure.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
At times, it was a tiny bit heavy-handed.
A little bit.
But overall, it was compelling enough, good story, entertaining, good performance by Nicholas Hoult. Yeah. And it was also, Toni Collette.
Toni Collette, yeah.
A slick-talking Southern... DA, and it's the
she's pretty good in it.
Yeah, so that now available on Max.
Yeah, and then also his name escapes me.
Who?
From Whiplash.
J.K. Simmons.
God,
he's great. He's in the movie for about
10 minutes,
15 minutes, but he's
so good. I mean, he steals the movie.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. He's good.
Yeah.
So another Best Picture nominee, Conclave. This divided us a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I really liked the machinations of, this small group of cardinals who were in charge of choosing the new pope, and all of the, the politics involved, and there were certain people who wanted the position, certain people that didn't want the position, but were probably best suited for it, and Ralph Fiennes had this, had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I enjoyed it. It was dramatic, and
I thought it was fine.
Some secrets and, whispering and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right when you say it seemed like a play. It really did.
Absolutely. Uh-oh, we got a kitty outside the door. She wants to talk about Conclave. But I liked it. I enjoyed it more than you. You found it a bit boring, but I
did. I did. I found it hard going in parts.
Oh, open the door. Let her in.
Okay.
Let our cat in. Come on in. Talk about movies. Let's go.
Anyway,
she ain't even coming in.
So I thought it was it was tough going at parts, but yeah, you're right. It was kind of interesting, but I think it would have worked really well as a play. For sure.
Yeah, I liked it, but I did like it. I thought the attention to detail with the Vatican and the robes and the noises that the robes would make and things like that, it was just really, really good, contained kind of movie. I enjoyed it. I can see why it's nominated. It's kind of, it's that old-fashioned kind of...
I think we've got a thunderstorm going on as well.
Yeah, so not in addition to cats meowing, we've got thunder in the background. Woo!
Wow.
So let's talk about Blink Twice, another movie we caught up on Prime. So this is Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut.
Right.
And there's a enigmatic rich guy played by Channing Tatum who invites Naomi
Harris.
Is it Naomi Harris?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Naomi Harris?
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
No, Nomiaki.
Oh, I'm sorry. My goodness. One of the Naomis.
One of the Naomis.
Yeah.
Nomiaki and from Arrested Development. Alia Shawkat.
Shawkat.
Yeah. They're invited to this island.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of weird stuff's going on.
Yeah.
Hi. It's a bit overlong.
Yeah.
It likes itself a little bit too much.
Yeah.
It really, it goes into, everything is so great on this island. Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
But there's a deeper underbelly going on.
Secrets. But here's the thing. The thing for me is they didn't really explain what was going on enough for me. Maybe I'm a bit stupid, but they didn't really explain enough what was going on. There was too many. I understand it's the style of the movie, but the cuts were a little bit too quick, and it was when you find out what's actually going on. It's I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I understood the premise of what was going on, but as I say, I'd have liked a little bit more explanation. But it was just fine. I find myself saying that so much about movies these days.
What was interesting about it was that before it played on Amazon, and I don't know if this was the case in the theater when it came out, there was a huge trigger warning at the start. That's interesting. I'm starting to see that a lot more with movies. There's trigger warnings about, sexual content, about sexual assault, about, hey, if you need help, get it. Here's some resources.
Yeah.
That kind of set up for me. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And...
It kind of instills a dread and an anticipation, into you, but...
I also
kind of understand the need for it.
But I get it. I get it. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been there, but I just found that really interesting that was there. There are some things in the movie that are quite horrific.
Yeah.
But it didn't work fully as a story. It left some holes and things like that, but and the ending I wasn't a huge fan of. I'm like, I don't really know where this is going with that. But anyway. All right.
Next one.
Let's talk about a movie that a lot of people said should have been nominated for Best Picture but wasn't. And that's Challengers.
Oh gosh.
We are not in that group of people. I thought it was fine. It's a lot of the okay.
I think you liked it more than I did.
A little bit. I liked the campness of it, and believe me, it was camp.
So
it was so
I guess
homoerotic.
we need to tell it. It's a story about two tennis players.
Yeah.
Who were friends, and they get involved in a love triangle with a girl. With
Zendaya.
And
who is also a tennis player.
Who ends up marrying one of them, and
coaching them.
And coaching them, and it just plays out over the years. Now, I would say the movie does have merit. I enjoyed the tennis scenes, although
some cool filmmaking there.
Yeah, some, but a little bit too much experimentation, in my opinion. There were just shots that were just used for a second, and I was like, oh, well, that should have been there longer. But my main problems with the movie, number one, the use of the music. Okay, so the music has a techno-y, 130 BPM soundtrack, right? That's by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Yes.
Right? Which is fine. Nothing wrong with it. The music was pretty good. However, the use of the music in the scenes was terrible. There's one scene in particular where two of the characters are having an argument, right? And they're having a frank discussion. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thump, 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 thump. And it just really took away from what the scene was about.
You couldn't really hear the dialogue all that well. You had to really focus on what they were saying. And that was character-defining moments.
Yeah, but also...
that you chose to put that thumping beat over.
It also happened during quite a tender scene between two of the characters as well.
Yeah.
Where they were talking. And it was just thump, thump. And I was like, oh my gosh. I think it happened 3 or 4 times during the movie in scenes. And I was like, this is just completely wrong. It's just completely distracting.
The only thing I can glimmer from that is maybe that was a representation of tennis and the competitive spirit making its way into the conversation of their lives, overtaking things. Maybe.
I don't know.
That was an artistic choice.
I shouldn't need to... I'm so, I shouldn't need to Google things after a movie.
I love doing that.
And another thing as well is that, personally, I don't think that Zendaya was right for the role. I don't...
she looks so young.
Yeah, she looks so young, and which works for the earlier parts, but for the later parts where they're 12, 13 years older, it doesn't work because she just she looks the same. Now I know that nobody's going to change a dramatic amount in 12 or 13 years, but just putting her in more grown-up clothes
with a more grown-up hairstyle,
in a pantsuit with a wig, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
I feel like it could have been cast.
She's a good actress. It's just, maybe not right.
She has that as I said, she has that resting fart face where it looks like she's just smelling a fart all the time. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just personal preference, but for me, the movie didn't work. I enjoyed the tennis parts, but I didn't really care for the movie.
It was just a bit stylistically all over the place. Yeah. You had homoerotic scenes, you had, tension and sexiness, but also competitiveness and drama, and I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think it worked.
Okay, so to round out the movies we've seen, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a stupid horror movie of the week. So not on Shudder, but on Max. I watched The Front Room.
Oh, okay.
With Brandy.
I walked into the room when you watched it. I was going to ask you if that was Brandy.
It was Brandy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she plays a woman who's pregnant, moving into a new home with her husband, and all of a sudden her husband's father dies, and the stepmother kind of reinserts herself into their life, and she's crazy and very evangelical and very somewhat racist and weird. She speaks in tongues. She's old. Portrayed by Catherine Hunter.
Okay.
I've seen Catherine Hunter in movies like Poor Things. She's also in Megalopolis, apparently. She's kind of this shorter stature actress who has a very... She was in I think Andor. She played like the the mother of the guy that got cast out.
Yeah, okay.
Giving him cereal and stuff.
Yes.
She's crazy in this movie. Okay. She's absolutely nuts. She's kind of gross. She's, I don't think Brandy's all that great of an actress in dramatic stuff like this. It was kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was? Okay.
Yeah, the ending is very dumb.
Okay.
And kind of like, oh.
So remind me not to watch that one.
Yeah, it's not great. But if you want to have a few beers and, well, don't eat anything. There's some gross stuff in this. So, ugh. Anyway, that's a
man, that's a lot
capsule
of movies.
recap.
Yeah,
that was
right.
a lot of movies to cover. So we promise in the future episodes it won't be this many because we're catching up on a
out
huge...
of these movies, watch Nosferatu, watch My Old Ass.
Watch Juror Number 2. Watch Gladiator 2. Why not?
Yeah.
And if you want to watch together, it's fine.
So My Old Ass is streaming on Prime. Juror number 2 is streaming on Max.
Mm-hmm.
Blink Twice is streaming on Prime. Gladiator 2 is streaming on Paramount Plus. So if you have any
Challengers
of these
is
services,
on Prime.
So a lot of these are on mainstream streaming services now.
Yeah. So, all right, let's roll into a few things we've caught up on the small screen. What did you do that for? You didn't need to adjust the volume, DJ. Anyway. Okay, so the new seasons of Severance has started after a long wait.
Good.
Now, we didn't have to wait as long because we only saw the first season last year. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of, we didn't have the same level of anticipation as some other folks who've been waiting for like 3 years.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while.
Okay.
So Apple TV Plus show
started 2 weeks ago, season 2.
Yeah.
And just brilliant.
It's hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
Building that mystery box.
Watched that second episode the other day. We've talked about it on the show before, but yeah, definitely, if you haven't caught up with Severance, definitely catch up with it.
Still one of the most compelling sci-fi, dystopian. I want to see this whole world, this whole Egan world. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I want like a companion guide and all this stuff because
it's kind of
there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, it kind of feels a little bit like Lost. The first couple of seasons of Lost, where there was so many things going on and there's so much mystery. I hope it doesn't go the same way as Lost.
I hope not. I want some things explained. What's the deal with the pineapples? Why do we keep seeing pineapples?
Right.
They're bobbing for pineapples. Yeah. They're getting pineapples in gift baskets. We're on episode 2, by the way.
Yeah, and there were goats as well. Yeah, goats. In the first season.
Yeah.
We never got it explained. But
what do they actually do at Lumen?
But it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Oh, and there's a couple of new characters in this season as well. A couple of good actors. Alia Shawkat is in it as well, and Bob Balaban.
Bob Balaban.
Love Bob Balaban.
Yeah, he's very upset.
Yeah.
But
we love Bob Balaban from the Christopher Guest movies.
Yeah, it's just continuing the mystery of what the severed people are actually doing. Why, there's the whole Helena thing.
It's great.
Just catch up, watch it. If you haven't seen it.
Yeah, get Apple TV.
Get involved.
Plus, get a free trial.
This is water cooler stuff, man. It's great. We're in the middle of another Apple TV show called Disclaimer, written and directed by Alfonso Cuarón, starring Cate Blanchett, Sacha Baron Cohen.
So good. So good so far.
And Kevin Kline, who we've missed so much from films lately, doing a great job. What's her name from... Leslie Manville's in it too. She's great.
Yeah. It's a great show.
Yeah.
It's great mystery. I'm not going to spoil anything, but after we watched a couple of episodes the other day, I did make a comment to you that I think that Cate Blanchett is one of the greatest actresses of our generation.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Just oh my gosh, just electrifying on screen.
Yes, absolutely.
Great show. I think we're halfway through it, so.
Yeah. So there is a mystery.
And that's just one season, right?
Yeah. So far, I don't know if it's a contained story or if it's been renewed. I'm not sure. I didn't want to look at anything because I don't want it to be spoiled.
Of course.
So we'll talk about that later when we finish. But so I've been watching a documentary series on HBO, or on Max, I should say, called An Update on Our Family. So you haven't watched this with me, but I will put it out there for kind of people who are interested in like influencer culture, who have followed along with like web bloggers and things like that. Story of a couple who have a lot of kids and they have a family blog, and she's a heavy influencer for moms and things like that. And they adopt a boy from China. And what happens after that, and what turns their life as bloggers into death threats and all kinds of things.
Wow,
so really interesting, but I'm tolerating a lot in it because it's told, the story is told from fans of the web blog with this family, because obviously they're not going to get the couple to comment,
right?
Given the subject matter. It can be a bit grating at times with people like, oh, I was tuning in for the latest update and she was giving us little pieces of this adoption process. I'm like, y'all get a life. It's kind of, it shows really how much influencer culture has become the monster it is, and how people tend to get involved in the lives of people they don't know. And it's like, it's a little bit cringy at times, but the story of what's going on with this family and how they get to that point it's kind of compelling.
So are these people that are commenting, are they like internet sleuths? Like,
it feels that way a little bit, but they are fans and viewers of the blog. But and it also shows kind of some other parent blogs and what they're doing. I don't know. It's interesting enough. I would recommend it. I recommend it just for the soap opera aspect of it. There's just something going on. There's secrets and things. So I haven't read. I could obviously go on the internet and read all I want about this family, but I choose not to, so I can follow along with the documentary. But anyway. A big surprise for us, a fun surprise, was Star Wars Skeleton Crew.
Oh, man.
Loved it.
Oh, absolutely awesome.
For most people, Star Wars series on Disney Plus can be hit or miss. Not for us. We tend to like a lot of it. The Acolyte was a bit...
If it's Star Wars, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I like the Acolyte.
But Skeleton Crew was kind of a Star Wars Goonies kind of adventure.
So when I first heard about Skeleton Crew, I was like, I hope this works. We watched the first episode, and I turned to you and said, doesn't this feel a bit Spielbergy? And it really is. It's fantastic. I would say it's not made for kids, but it's made for families. Yeah. Right? And it is so much fun and so much adventure and so much action. It's great. I absolutely loved it. Can't recommend it highly enough. Disney Plus, I would say one of the best Star Wars shows they've made.
It is really fun, and kind of it also shows an aspect of the Star Wars universe that we've never seen, which is kind of a Star Wars suburb.
Yes, Star Wars suburbs, family life, going to school. Yeah.
Playing outside, doing your homework, taking your standardized tests.
Super surprised. Super surprised, and can't wait for season 2. Jude Law is great. All the kids in it are really great too. Jude Law is great. Nick Frost as the voice of the android, of the droid 33.
Yes.
Just a great show. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Can tide us over until Andor season 2.
Yes, absolutely. And finally, cheap plug, watch Pop Culture Jeopardy on Prime Video.
Yes, cause
I was a contestant.
Yay!
So on episode 19, there's a team called Ladies of the 80s. I'm Mary from Ladies of the 80s. That's my real first name. I go by Leasha because that's my middle name, and that's what my family's called me my whole life. But yeah, I was a competitor on the show. Pop Culture Jeopardy is it's a Jeopardy for movies, music, nerds. Pop culture, entertainment, so everything up my street.
So we had this secret for 6 months.
Yeah.
We couldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, I couldn't tell anyone.
But now you could watch it. So Prime Video, Pop Culture Jeopardy, episode 19, Ladies of the 80s. Yeah. And you got to meet Colin Jost.
Yep. Yeah. Mr. Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Very funny and charming in person. Yeah. And I can't talk a lot about the experience because I don't want to ruin the magic, but I will say that it was one of the most thrilling things I've ever done and a bucket list item for me.
Awesome.
I've always been a Jeopardy fan, and I got to compete on a team with my sisters who were also Jeopardy fans. Yeah. And it was just amazing, surreal, incredible, awesome to be on the Alex Trebek stage, and just overall a great experience. And so you can watch now.
Perfect.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. But anyway, I think that's us. I think that's it for the week. That was
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. I promise you all of our episodes coming up will be shorter.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure out which movie we're going to tackle next. We want to do a regular episode coming up soon where we take a deep dive into a film, but haven't quite decided what that movie should be. Maybe we'll look at what's coming out this year and try and do something themed.
Yeah.
But until then, you can catch us on Instagram at FaveFilm Podcast. We have an email address if you want to correspond, favefilmpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And
don't forget to watch Pop Culture Jeopardy.
Yep, watch Pop Culture Jeopardy, and you can go back and listen to other episodes in our archive, anywhere you download your pods. And I guess, until then,
this week.
Yeah, until then, we'll try and catch up on more movies. Maybe try and see some of these Best Picture nominees. Yeah. Although the Brutalist, 3 hours.
Well, we'll watch Emilia Perez this week for sure. Yeah, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yep. All right. So until then, have fun, stay safe, and we'll see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye.